I don't even know where to start, so I'll just go with the moment my reality cracked. It was a Wednesday, early evening. I'd just come home from work, loosened my tie, and went down to the basement to set up the rocking chair we ordered for the nursery. It was one of those fancy gliders with a matching ottoman. My wife had circled it in a baby catalog, said it was the one she wanted for reading books to the baby, said it was our forever chair. I spent an hour figuring out the bolts and hex keys, listening to the soft hum of voices upstairs, her weekly video call with her sister and their mom. The floorboards above me creaked whenever they moved around the kitchen. I could smell popcorn, heard a wine bottle cork pop. I didn't think anything of it, just normal evening sounds. Then I heard my name, followed by my wife, Carla, laughing in a way I hadn't heard before. Not the usual laugh she gave me, soft and sweet, but a sharp one, like she was trying to impress someone. Then she said, "I swear, he still thinks we're some kind of love story." Another laugh from her sister. My hand froze on the Allen wrench. Her voice dropped, but I could still make it out. He's a placeholder. He always was. I needed stability after Jacob. He offered it. That's it. That sentence hit like a truck. But what came next? That's what changed everything. Her mom said, "You did what you had to do. Now you've got the house, the benefits, and once the baby's here, we make our move. Keep coming till then. He'll never see it coming." Her sister chimed in, "We'll get legal help if it goes south. No judge will side with him if you play it right." I sat there, holding a tiny wooden armrest in one hand and the wrench in the other, like an idiot. They kept talking like I wasn't even real. Carla said he's been begging to come to doctor's appointments. Like he actually thinks this is his dream, too. I couldn't breathe. We had been married for almost 8 years. We'd gone through 2 miscarriages, 1 emergency surgery. I held her hand in that hospital room while she cried over the loss of a child we'd named before we even knew the gender. Now here she was, 3 weeks from giving birth to our first baby girl, Harper. We'd agreed, and saying I was a placeholder. I stayed in that basement for another hour after they finished their call. I didn't move. The chair was half-built. My life was half-built. That night, she kissed me on the cheek and asked if I could rub her back before bed. I did. I felt robotic. She sighed and said, "God, I'm lucky to have you." I almost laughed. Almost. But I just smiled and said, "You're everything to me." What a joke. That was 6 days ago. I haven't said a word to her about what I heard. But since then, I've started unraveling the pieces. Quietly. Methodically. Like peeling wallpaper off the wall and realizing there's mold underneath. I checked our shared bank account. Just like I feared, money had been vanishing. Small transfers to a secondary checking account I didn't recognize, but was clearly hers. I checked our Amazon orders, baby items I never saw in our house, being shipped to an address in Oak Ridge, 3 towns over. Her mom's address. I dug deeper. Looked at our cell phone provider. Her call logs. Dozens of hour-long calls to Jacob. The same Jacob she said she blocked 3 years ago after he moved out of state and ghosted her. She told me she hated him. Said he ruined her life. Said she was relieved she found me, someone solid. Turns out, she's been talking to him almost daily. Texts. Calls. One even listed a hotel address 2 towns over. I recognized the date. It was the night she told me she was too tired to go to our anniversary dinner. I held the reservation alone that night. Sat by the window, drinking a glass of wine while the waiter kept asking if I wanted to wait a little longer. I said no. I told myself maybe she just didn't feel well. Now I know she wasn't even in our house that night. Here's the part that makes me feel the sickest. I still want to protect our daughter. Even though she hasn't been born yet. Even though she's part of this mess. Every time I touch Carla's belly and feel Harper kicking, I feel hope. It doesn't matter who Carla is or what she's done. I already love that kid. But I've stopped sleeping. I get up at 3 a.m. and walk circles around the living room. I started taking notes, dates, bank transfers, shipping addresses, call logs. I backed everything up on a secure drive and sent a copy to a friend in law enforcement I trust, just in case anything happens to me. Carla's been unusually affectionate lately. I think she senses something's off, but she's mistaking my silence for stress about the baby. She told me last night, "We'll be okay. You always make things okay." She doesn't realize she's the one lighting the match, and I'm holding the fire extinguisher behind my back. This morning, she asked if I'd mind installing the baby monitor in the nursery. Said she wants to make sure it's ready before her baby shower this weekend. I nodded and said, "Sure. I'll take care of it today." But I installed a second one. A backup. One she doesn't know about. tucked behind a row of stuffed animals on the top shelf. I need to know what's said when I'm not around, because I'm not sticking around to be the victim of this story. But I need to be smart, strategic, because there's an innocent life on the way, and she's the only thing that matters now. So yeah, I might still rub Carla's back. I might still make her tea and kiss her forehead and help her out of bed when her hips hurt. But every moment, I'm calculating. I'm mapping the route out of this house. I'm preparing my own kind of baby bag. Not for the hospital, but for freedom. And once that day comes, there'll be no looking back. The baby shower was held at Carla's childhood home, a beige ranch-style house with a perfectly edged lawn and an inflatable unicorn arch staked into the front yard. I drove us there, one hand on the wheel, the other resting protectively on her knee while she babbled about cupcake tiers and floral arrangements. She laughed like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't shredded our marriage down to paperwork and pillow talk. Her sister, Bianca, met us at the door with that overplayed enthusiasm people use when they're masking something. She hugged Carla tight, barely even glanced at me. Inside, a dozen women buzzed around like bees drunk on Prosecco and Purpose. The air reeked of sugared lotion and manufactured joy. I stayed for the first 20 minutes, smiling for pictures, pretending to marvel at the diaper cake, then excused myself to take a walk and get some air. What I really did was loop around the block, hop a neighbor's fence, and wedge myself into the far corner of the backyard. I'd installed a voice-activated recorder under the deck 2 days prior, while Carla and her mom were setting up the backyard seating. No one even noticed me testing the soil by the wooden beams under the guise of checking for ant nests. Now, crouched in the cold dirt, I listened through a live Bluetooth relay on my phone, heart thudding like a war drum. The recorder picked up perfectly. Bianca, are you sure about this timing? Carla, it's perfect. Once the baby comes, he's going to be emotionally fragile. The court will lean toward me for custody. Her mom, the lawyer, said the more stable parent always wins. He's going to crumble, especially once we pull the rug out. He doesn't even know we've been setting up Harper's nursery at my place. I almost vomited. Carla, he keeps asking to be in the delivery room. It's so pathetic. Like, what does he think this is? Some fairy tale? Her mom, don't feel bad. You gave him what he wanted, a family. Just not the one he thought. Then, silence, followed by the unmistakable sound of a lighter flicking. Bianca, so what happens to him after? Carla, he'll sign the papers. He always folds under pressure. I'll make sure of it. Her voice dipped low, like it had during that first conversation I'd overheard in our kitchen. Cold, strategic, detached. I backed away slowly, my entire body vibrating with adrenaline, and made it back around to the front of the house. I texted Carla that I was heading home to feed the dog. She sent back a heart emoji. I didn't respond. Back home, I pulled up the cloud backup folder I'd been compiling and added the new audio file. Labeled it Shower Serpents. Probably too dramatic, but I needed the humor to stay sane. Then I played the file again, and again, until the words burned into my brain like a brand. I slept on the couch that night again. Told Carla it was my back. She seemed annoyed, but not surprised. The next day, I got the twist I never saw coming. It started with a knock at the door. I was feeding the dog, watching Harper's mobile spin above the crib in our half-done nursery when I heard it. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door and immediately froze. There was a man, about my age, shaggy brown hair, tall, but hunched like he'd been living under too many ceilings not built for him. Are you Marcus? He asked. Yes. He rubbed his hands together. I'm Jordan, Jacob's brother. I nearly dropped the dog's water bowl. He looked exhausted. Eyes bloodshot, cheeks sunken. Can I come in? I think we need to talk. I didn't answer. Just stepped aside and let him in. He didn't waste time. Look, I don't want to get involved in your personal life, but I need you to know something about Carla and my brother. The air in the room thickened. Jacob's dead. That hit harder than expected. He kept going. Overdose. Fentanyl-laced. About 5 months ago. I blinked. Carla's been talking to him. Texting. Calling. He nodded slowly. Yeah, about that. You've been talking to someone pretending to be Jacob, but it isn't him. That didn't compute. She stole his old phone before he went off the grid. Had all his accounts still logged in. After he died, I tried getting in touch with people. One of his old girlfriends told me Carla had been contacting her, asking about passwords, old phone numbers. I thought it was weird, but didn't think too much of it until last week when I saw one of Jacob's old contacts listed as active. I just stared. He pulled out his phone, showed me screenshots. Text threads. They match Carla's logs. Same phrasing. Same rhythm. Same photos. She's been using his number to send messages to herself. Sometimes to you. Pretending he's still alive. I sat down. Jordan leaned forward. I don't know what game she's playing, man. But she's not just planning to take your kid. She's building a whole fake history. And just like that, the ground vanished beneath me. I thanked him. Asked him to send me everything. He did. I added it to the evidence pile. Created a new folder. Phantom Jacob. Later that night, as Carla slept, I sat across from her in the dim light of our bedroom and just watched her. Not in love. Not in hate. Just in utter confusion. Who was this woman? And how much deeper did the hole go? I checked her laptop. No password. Like she never expected I'd have reason to check. Inside her downloads folder, a document titled Custody Strategy V2. Inside her recycle bin, a deleted draft of a will that didn't mention me at all. She was writing me out of her life, on every level. But now I had something she didn't know I had. Jordan. A witness. And if I played this right, this wouldn't just be about escaping her. It would be about exposing her. The next 2 weeks moved like a dream made of broken glass. I went through the motions, nursery prep, hospital bag checklists, doctor visits, while my mind remained locked on surveillance, documentation, and escape. I didn't sleep more than an hour at a time. Couldn't. My body existed in fight or flight mode, and I was losing track of which one was winning. Carla didn't notice. Or maybe she thought the stress made me more compliant. She'd occasionally say things like, "You've been really quiet lately, but I get it. We're almost there," with this tone like I was just a background extra in the movie she was starring in. Her hands had gotten softer with me, more affectionate even, but every kiss now felt like I was being marked for execution. I installed a secondary camera in the car, disguised as a rear-view dash ornament. Her mom and sister were suddenly always tagging along when we drove to appointments, always offering to wait in the lobby so I could go in alone with her. It wasn't kindness. It was control. Carla didn't want them seen by the doctors, probably because she was preparing to paint a picture where I was the erratic one. Unstable. Isolated. They were keeping their distance publicly. All part of the plan. But they didn't know I was capturing everything. Conversations in the car. Side comments on speakerphone. Whispered questions like, "Do you think we should go ahead and install the backup crib now? Or has he figured out the birth certificate trick yet?" That one made my skin crawl. I started digging into it that night. Turns out, in our state, the mother can delay adding the father's name to the birth certificate if the child is born out of wedlock, or if she claims there's a paternity concern. We were married, but if she managed to get to the hospital alone or with a witness to claim I'd left or abandoned her, she could at least delay me from being added right away. A delay that might cost me everything. So I made sure I was always driving. Always one step ahead. And then the call came. It was early. 5:14 a.m. Carla shook me awake, clutching her stomach. "It's happening. We need to go." I dressed in under a minute. Grabbed the hospital bag, the emergency folder I'd stashed with my ID, insurance cards, and notarized paternity acknowledgement my lawyer had recommended I pre-sign, just in case. Then we were off. The drive was silent. She held her belly, breathing through the contractions. I drove like a machine, heart pounding like a funeral drum. We arrived. I handed over the paperwork before they even asked. I stuck by her side like glue. Every time she winced, I was there. Every time a nurse came in, I asked questions. Made sure they knew I was the husband, the father, and that I was staying. 12 hours later, Harper came into the world with a scream that shattered everything else. She was beautiful, red-cheeked, angry as hell, perfect. They placed her on Carla's chest, and for a brief moment, I saw something real flicker across her face. Something vulnerable. For just a second, I believed she might have loved this child, maybe even me. Then her mother walked in. The flicker died. They exchanged a look I knew too well. Strategy. That night, I refused to leave. Nurses offered to let me go home and rest. I declined. Slept in the recliner by the window. Clutched Harper in my arms at 3 a.m. while Carla snored. Whispered to her, "I'm here, baby girl. I see everything. And I'm not going anywhere." The next morning, the nurse handed me the birth certificate form. Carla reached for it, but I beat her to it. Smiled. "Mind if I do the honors?" Her jaw tightened, but she didn't fight it. I filled in the name, Harper Elise Weston. Under father's name, I printed mine in block letters. Legible. Clean. A nurse notarized the form, filed it immediately. I asked for a copy. Carla didn't say a word. When we got home, everything was different. They played perfect, Carla, her mom, even Bianca. But something had shifted in me. I wasn't scared anymore, because I had her. And now, they couldn't erase me. The next morning, I sent Jordan a message. Now, please. Within the hour, I received the files, his brother's death certificate, the last known call log, and a statement he'd written explaining how Carla had impersonated Jacob to build fake emotional leverage. I sent the whole packet to my lawyer, along with the hospital footage of me holding Harper, the nurse handing me the birth certificate, every time-stamped file I had. Then I waited. But something was off. Carla was too calm, too at ease. And then, a week later, I found the burner phone. I'd gone into the garage to grab some extra diapers. The baby monitor was on, audio still streaming. I wasn't expecting to hear Carla's voice. Not talking to Harper, but whispering to someone. I froze. Her voice. He thinks he's safe now, but just give it a few months. Once he starts cracking from sleep deprivation, I'll start documenting the erratic behavior. That's when we hit him in court. He'll never see it coming. Silence. Then a voice I didn't recognize. Deep. Male. Make sure the cameras don't catch it. Start now. Get your story straight. Carla. I know. Don't worry. He still thinks he's in control. I stepped back slowly, phone in my hand, hands trembling. It wasn't just her mom, or Bianca, or Jacob's ghost. There was someone else. Someone new. A piece of this puzzle I hadn't accounted for. And now, I was officially at war. I barely slept that night, not even with Harper pressed against my chest like a tiny anchor to reality. My mind was spiraling. Who was the voice on the burner call? It didn't sound like Jacob. He was dead, confirmed by death certificate and grieving brother. But someone was helping her, coaching her, maybe funding her. The next morning, while Carla was out for groceries and Harper was napping in her bassinet, I went hunting. I searched every drawer, every closet, even the shed. That's when I found the duffel bag. It was in the crawl space above the garage. Dusty. Tucked inside, a prepaid Visa card, burner phone, a second one, a fake ID with Carla's photo but under the name Chloe Mendez, and a leather-bound planner filled with entries. Each page dated. Each line a summary. January 3rd. He didn't notice the new shipment arrived. Check. January 17th. Practice crying again. Getting better. February 4th. Confirmed Jacob's death with Jordan. Use it later. February 19th. Begin phase 2 after Harper's born. Must establish instability. That entry was underlined 3 times. I scanned faster, my mouth dry. March 3rd. Talk to Nate. He agrees the fastest route is claiming neglect. Use lack of sleep and over-involvement. March 8th. Nate says to document everything. He'll handle court appearance logistics if needed. Nate. The voice on the phone. I searched the name through Carla's email archive, buried beneath years of junk promotions and order confirmations. Found a thread labeled Nate, Consulting. Clicked. The address domain wasn't from a law firm. It was from a PR crisis management service. I clicked open the first email. Subject. Your exit strategy. Content. Carla, as discussed, timing is key. Maternal advantage only works if the father is painted as obsessive, unstable, or unwilling. Start subtle. Shift routines. Deny sleep. Question behavior in front of others. Once documentation begins, we can manage the optics. I read it twice. Then a third time. She wasn't just trying to take my daughter. She was staging a psychological takedown, with a professional strategist guiding her through the steps. Suddenly, everything made sense. The late-night accidental wake-ups where she'd ask me to check a noise. The way she'd act confused in front of visitors. Marcus, I already told you that, remember? The locked bathroom door when Harper cried and I had to rush to her alone. The missed feedings I had to make up for. The texted complaints to her sister that he's losing it, now that I had proof she was the one manufacturing the chaos. They were laying a trap, breadcrumb by breadcrumb, to make it look like I was unraveling. I copied every file, every screenshot, every date. Sent it all to my lawyer. He called immediately. You need to go, he said. Now. But I have no legal right to take Harper without notice. You have proof. You have intent. And if this, Nate, person is who I think he is, they're not stopping at custody. They're setting up reputational damage. Allegations. Things that could stick even if they're false. Get your daughter and go. I'll file the emergency custody motion before noon. I stared at Harper, her little hands twitching in sleep. She was so small, so defenseless. And all this, was to take her from me. Not because I was dangerous, but because I wasn't. Because I was stable. A foundation they wanted to hijack and then burn to the ground. I moved fast. Grabbed the backup baby bag, my Go folder, the flash drive with everything. I wrapped Harper in her soft pink blanket, the one with stars, and slid her gently into the car seat. I left the second phone open on the kitchen counter, playing the most recent audio file, the one where Carla described Phase 2. Then I locked the door behind me. I drove straight to the temporary apartment I'd quietly rented in the next county. It wasn't much, linoleum floors, flickering overhead lights, but it was ours. For now. By the time I arrived, my lawyer had filed the emergency motion and sent digital copies of every item. The duffel bag, the emails, the planner, the recording. That night, I got the first message. Carla, where are you? Is Harper with you? You can't just disappear like this. Then, Carla, you're making this worse. Come home and we'll talk. I didn't reply. Then came the call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A man's voice. Calm. Controlled. Nate here. You've made a very serious mistake. I recommend you return home before things escalate further. I saved the message. Added it to the pile. The next morning, Carla's mother showed up at my old office. Demanded answers. Made a scene in the lobby. Yelled about how I'd kidnapped her grandchild. My boss texted me a warning. An hour later, my lawyer got a cease and desist letter from Nate's PR firm, alleging unlawful recordings and defamation. My lawyer laughed and filed a counter-motion for preemptive protection, citing threat escalation and coordinated manipulation. Carla went silent for 2 days. Then, on day 3, she filed her own motion, requesting sole custody, claiming mental instability, alleging verbal abuse. I wasn't surprised, because I already had everything I needed to tear the entire thing down. But I also knew the real war was just beginning. The court hearing was set for the following Tuesday. Just over a week from the day I left with Harper. Every hour until then felt like walking through a minefield. Every ding from my phone, every knock at the door, every lullaby I sang while rocking Harper to sleep came with the low hum of dread that somewhere, Carla and her strategist were pulling strings I couldn't see. But I wasn't the man they thought I was. The man who once thought love meant enduring everything, forgiving everything, staying, even when staying meant bleeding silently. I was a different kind of dangerous now. The kind that smiled through evidence. The kind that weaponized truth. The day before the hearing, I met with my lawyer in person. He looked exhausted, papers spread out like battle plans. They're going to go for character destruction, emotional instability, financial negligence. The usual playbook. I've got receipts, I said. He grinned. You have more than that. You've got a digital minefield. Most fathers come in here with nothing but a broken heart. You've built a fortress. Still, I didn't sleep that night. Harper cried off and on, and I walked the floor with her pressed to my chest, whispering, Daddy's here. Daddy's not going anywhere. The next morning, the courtroom felt colder than I imagined. Sterile. Even the wood paneling looked fake, like someone had made a courtroom out of leftover IKEA parts. Carla sat across from me in a cream blouse, no jewelry, no makeup, hair tucked into a low bun. She looked soft, innocent, a performance. Next to her sat Nate. Slick suit, tight smile, the kind of man who says, let me speak to your manager, and means it. He didn't look at me once. Her mom and sister were behind them. Bianca avoided my eyes. Her mom didn't. She stared like she'd forgotten I had a memory, like she thought she could still win. Our judge was an older woman with tired eyes and no patience for drama. The kind who's seen every version of this already. Good. Carla's attorney made the first move. She painted a picture of a father unraveling, insomniac, overprotective, emotionally erratic. She presented carefully selected texts, moments where I expressed doubt or exhaustion, and spun them like symptoms of collapse. Then they mentioned the abduction. I could see the moment they thought they had the win. But my lawyer rose like a man unbothered. Calm. Measured. And then we dropped the hammer. First, the recordings. Crystal clear audio of Carla and her family planning custody before the baby was even born. The laughter. The mocking. The checklist approach to manipulating court. Then, the email chain from Nate's consulting firm, proof they had been preparing a psychological warfare campaign to break me down. The exit strategy email hit especially hard. Next, the duffel bag. Fake IDs. Burner phones. The fake conversations with a dead man. My lawyer explained the impersonation, complete with death certificate from Jordan. The judge blinked hard at that one. And then the piece de resistance, the hidden baby monitor audio from the garage. Carla talking to Nate, describing phase 2, and how she planned to gaslight me into cracking. The room went silent. Utterly silent. Nate finally looked at me. His jaw clenched. Carla's attorney tried to object, claimed invasion of privacy. The judge raised one hand, dismissing it. Do you deny this voice is yours, Mrs. Weston? Carla didn't answer. The judge leaned forward. Your husband may have flaws, but everything in this court points to a coordinated, malicious attempt to erase him from his daughter's life. And you, she glanced at Nate, have no place advising families in crisis if this is your idea of ethics. My lawyer requested immediate primary custody with strict visitation rights for Carla. No overnights. All handoffs in neutral, monitored locations. Psychological evaluation required for Carla prior to any increase in parenting time. Approved. Stamped. Done. Carla didn't cry. Didn't flinch. She just stared, like she was outside of her own body, watching a car crash in slow motion. Her mom whispered something harsh. Bianca looked down at the floor. Nate packed his briefcase and left without a word. The moment court adjourned, I held Harper close, pressing my lips to her forehead. Carla reached out instinctively, like muscle memory, and I let her touch her daughter's hand. She mouthed something. I couldn't tell what, but I didn't ask. I walked out of that courtroom a free man. Free from the lies, the manipulation, the performance. The next few weeks were quiet. Carla texted often, mostly to ask about Harper. I kept my replies short, respectful, clinical. Every interaction was documented. Every exchange stored in a folder I labeled Aftermath. I didn't deny her time. I wanted Harper to know her mother, eventually. But not until Carla earned it. Not until she stopped playing chess with people's lives. Her visits started at the community center. 1 hour. Supervised. Carla showed up on time. Brought toys. Acted like someone trying. Maybe she really was. Maybe losing the war gave her a glimpse of the stakes. Or maybe it was just another tactic. I no longer cared. My daughter came first. I moved us into a 2-bedroom apartment with light through the windows and no cameras hidden in the corners. Painted the nursery myself. No gliders this time. Just a soft chair and a heartbeat monitor. I started therapy. Joined a parenting group. Met other dads who'd walked through fire and didn't let it burn them bitter. One of them said something that stuck with me. You're not broken. You were sharpened. Harper's first laugh came while I was feeding her applesauce and making ridiculous faces. It was loud and sudden and perfect. I cried. That sound, that laugh, was the first real thing I'd felt in months. The sound of something being born inside me, not destroyed. Last week, Carla asked if we could meet. Just the two of us. No lawyers. No court. Just talk. I declined. Because this story wasn't about her anymore. It never really was. It was about me realizing that love doesn't mean surrender. It means knowing when to walk away to protect what's good. And sometimes, that good is a 6-pound miracle who clutches your thumb and falls asleep on your chest.